Well, hello and welcome to a special Earth Day edition of On Deck with Avoya, your weekly travel update. We appreciate your time and thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Chris Green, Director of Network Expansion for Avoya Travel. And we mentioned Earth Day, and we will indeed touch base on some travel-related Earth Day initiatives in our Eye on the Industry feature here in just a moment. We'll also talk events with our special Meet the Team guest, Ashley Lewis, Senior Strategic Partners and Events Manager for Avoya Travel. Ashley will join us in a little bit later on Deck with Avoya, and we'll recap our latest promotions because the time is becoming a little bit more urgent, I feel. I mean, when you read all the tea leaves and listen between the lines from all of the major travel vendors, the travel rush is fast approaching, and you'll really have wanted to have chosen wisely. Some are going to get on the gas pedal faster. Some will have used the downtime more productively, and those differences will directly impact your bottom line if you don't pick the right partner. At Avoya Travel, we strongly believe that when you do all the research, you dig deeper, you examine the quality and quantity of our best-in-class resources, that Avoya Travel deserves to be on your list for deeper consideration. And that remains our sole goal and purpose of On Deck with Avoya, to provide you, the travel professional, with the resources to excel in the sales of leisure travel. Whenever you're ready to chat, we're ready to chat too. And we have a pretty amazing story to tell, and we're pretty proud to share it with you. So let's get started with this week's edition of On Deck with Avoya, your weekly travel update with some industry insights and our Eye on the Industry feature. Well, Alaska sues, Richard Fain tries the spoonful of honey approach with the CDC, Sandals increases its presence in Jamaica, and of course, Earth Day initiatives. But first, our top story. Alaska has joined Florida in filing a lawsuit against the federal government in an attempt to overturn the CDC's conditional sail order with the hopes of having a cruise season this year in Alaska waters by the summertime. Alaska Governor Mike Dunleavy said earlier this week in a lead up to the lawsuit that we deserve the chance to have tourism and jobs. The cruise industry is vital to the economic health of Alaska. Alaska has already suffered an economic loss of $3 billion due to the cancellation of the 2020 cruise season and faces another unnecessary economic loss in 2021. He followed that up with a tweet yesterday announcing that the suit had been filed, saying Alaska has joined Florida in legal action to stop these destructive policies. Richard Fain, Royal Caribbean Group chairman, chose a less combative tone when discussing the CDC and the progress towards the restart of cruising from the United States. In a video message released by Mr. Fain on Monday, he noted, and I quote, "Royal's brands alone have carried more than 100,000 guests on more than 150 cruises during the pandemic, gives the industry not only comfort, but data to discuss with the CDC and other health authorities. Based on that data, over 30 countries have already granted permission for cruising, and we're optimistic that the CDC will too." As far as timing is concerned, Richard Fain pointed to the CDC's own statement that cruising could resume by mid-July. Again, quoting Mr. Fain, "We agree with that assessment, and we're more optimistic than ever that a realistic path can be found and achieved in that time frame. That would enable a summer season in Alaska and elsewhere." He added that the final decisions are up to the CDC as they should be, and I caution you, we can't prejudge their decisions. Sandals is adding not one, not two, but 3 new resorts in Jamaica. According to a report released this week, Sandals Resorts International has acquired 2 former Jewel Resort properties, including the Dunn's River Beach property, which was formerly in the Sandals portfolio. And then the Sandals Corporation will also develop a prime piece of beachfront property to create the new Beaches Runaway Bay Resort, and that'll be situated between Ocho Rios and Montego Bay. Upon completion of renovations and construction, Sandals Resorts International would operate a total of 15 properties in Jamaica, including 12 resorts and 3 private villas. And finally, we touch base on a couple of Earth Day initiatives underway from some of the biggest companies in leisure travel. Travel Corporation is leading the way with a huge push to become carbon neutral by 2030. They announced their 5-step climate action plan, and the 5 steps include measure the emissions from its businesses and trip, reduce, build on reduction efforts, and set ambitious reduction targets by mid-2022, remove, through the Tread Right Foundation, invest in new technology and nature-based solutions to remove excess carbon from the atmosphere, offset by purchasing carbon credits to offset unavoidable emissions, including phasing in carbon neutral trips between 2022 and 2030, and finally evolve, continue to learn from others, invest in new technologies, and support strategic alliances that enable TTC and the industry to move to a low carbon economy. The Globus family of brands has also announced its latest environmental initiatives, the Lighthouse Project. The Globus family of brands Lighthouse Project is focused on 3 give back categories: the planet, the people, and the places. The planet, Globus family of brands makes every effort to conserve, preserve in each destination visited, as well as protect waterways and wildlife while shining a light on organizations that do the same. People, the Globus family of brands is dedicated to protecting, respecting, and supporting the communities of the world, as well as improving the individual lives within them. And finally, places. The parks, places, museums, and monuments that exist today are the results of previous generations thinking of preservation. By way of the Lighthouse Project, the Globus family of brands aims to pay it forward so that future generations can enjoy the same places to relax, renew, and reflect. Currently, Globus is spotlighting nearly 50 causes focused on the planet, people, and places, and they have plans to add more. Time for us to transition and meet another amazing member of the team here at Avoya Travel, as it's time for the On Deck with Avoya Meet the Team feature. And this week, our featured guest is Ashley Lewis, Senior Strategic Partners and Events Manager for Avoya Travel. Ashley oversees the planning and execution of our yearly national conference, among many of the other events that Avoya Travel hosts on a regular basis. And as you might imagine, her whole world, like all of ours, was really shaken up because of COVID. And I look forward to hearing from Ashley, who'll be joining us here in just a second, on the many ways Avoya Travel adapted to a virtual format to continue to keep that vital flow of information moving forward. But before we do that, I just wanted to look back really quick over the last 3 months and some of the amazing ground that we've covered with our Meet the Team guests, from sales and sales coaching, support, professional development, strategic partnerships, Avoya University, Avoya's mastermind program, our contact center, promotions, groups, technology. I mean, if you stop and think about it, it really is amazing. And what's even more amazing is that these resources are exclusive for the members of the Avoya Travel Network, an elite group of travel professionals. I mean, can you imagine having to wear that many hats to run a successful agency? I mean, when would you have time for the selling, the nurturing of client relationships? As a former agency owner myself, I can tell you it's near impossible. So if you'd like to learn more about the amazing resources offered by Avoya Travel, stay tuned until the end of our broadcast for our contact information so we can get you squared away with a network expansion specialist. Among those amazing resources is our events team, and our special guest today leads up that effort, Ashley Lewis, Strategic Partners and Events Manager for Avoya Travel. Ashley, thank you so much for being our special Meet the Team guest today on Deck with Avoya.
Thanks so much, Chris. I'm super excited to be here.
Well, we're super excited to have you. And Ashley, normally I start off by asking our team members how they got into the travel business. But in your case, I'm going to have you hold that story till the end because it's such a fun story. And instead, tell me a little bit about how you first caught the travel bug. I mean, was traveling always part of your life growing up?
You bet. So I'm actually a timeshare baby. My grandparents, mom, everyone had timeshares. So growing up, it was normal for our family to pack up and spend a week in a timeshare in Hawaii, Mexico, or somewhere in the United States. It wasn't until I was about 11 or 12, I hit up my first hotel, and unfortunately I asked my mom where the kitchen was because I just wasn't used to that kind of travel. So I feel so fortunate. My mom was a teacher, so those summer vacations out in Hawaii, spending a week in a place that, had a kitchen, had a pool, had the whole shebang. I just fell in love with being out of the house and really that hotel lifestyle.
Yeah, for sure. And then what about Avoya Travel? I mean, how did you come to work for Avoya's company?
Yeah, so I have always really worked in partnerships and events. That's just my background. And an opportunity opened up at Avoya to join the team. And one thing that we may not be brain surgeons, we may not be out in the world teachers, but the independent agencies in the Avoya network have such a big role in the life and the happiness and just the joy level for people. And I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to bring something and use my experience in helping other people create memories, because really that's all we can take in the end, our experiences and our memories.
And our timing for this appearance is pretty good too, right? I mean, tomorrow is your anniversary with Avoya, so an early happy anniversary to you.
Thank you. Yes, 6 years tomorrow I'll have been part of the Avoya family, and I couldn't be more thrilled.
Ashley Lewis is our featured guest this week. Ashley's Avoya Travel Senior Strategic Partners and Events Manager. And Ashley, tell me a little bit about what your day-to-day role looks like and some of the things that you and your team are responsible for the members of the Avoya Travel Network.
Yeah, so I wear a couple hats. So not only do I oversee the events that take place in our network, I oversee our relationship with two of our biggest supplier partners, and most recently, I adopted our public relations team. So we have a little bit going on there, but I think we should really focus in on events and what that means for Avoya. So day to day is a nice surprise. I drink a lot of coffee and I'm never sure what I'm going to get. But for my team, we're really responsible for just making sure that we have everything in place for all aspects of the company, whether that's employees, independent agencies, or our supplier partners. Our goal is to bring everyone together, be that in a virtual or in-person environment, and make sure that we have not only networking experiences, but really important educational experiences you can only get with Avoya Travel.
And no doubt that COVID-19, I mean, it impacted everybody in the whole world, and certainly those of us who are travel professionals. But I would have to think in your particular role that the function was like night and day. And before we talk virtual events, let's talk some face-to-face events. Pre-COVID, what kind of events did Avoya produce? And just talk me through some of the challenges of like putting on a major national conference while you're in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, so one of the best things about Avoya is we just love feedback from the independent agencies. I can tell you every event I'd like to put on, but I need to make sure that it's beneficial to the network and our suppliers. So we do things as large as our conference, which is bringing everyone together in the middle of the ocean or at a nice resort, or smaller events that can allow a little bit more networking, a little bit more hammered in on certain aspects of education. So for my team, it's really important that we put on an event, get a survey, and try to figure out, did we like it? Did we not? How can we tweak it? How can we change it? But mostly we're just there to make sure that our supplier partners and our independent agencies can come together, network, and have educational sessions and learn a little bit more about each other. Now, putting on a conference in the middle of the ocean definitely comes with its own challenges. One of the big things is if you're an event planner not in the middle of the ocean, you can often go to your resort or hotel numerous times. You can check out the lay of the land. You can meet with the staff. For us, we book a conference almost a year in advance, so we don't even know who's going to be on board to help us, to support us. Do they know anything about Avoya? So it's really the first day that I walk on board and I meet our team, who's going to be head of food and beverage, who's going to help me backstage. And there's just a lot happening behind the scenes. Think of it like a concert or a red carpet event that lasts 7 or 8 days. We're just behind the scenes on those lovely deck phones, trying to make sure that everyone is in the same place. And not to mention, there's always those great service issues out there. So it's not like I can always pick up my cell phone and give someone a buzz on my team and say, hey, we need you backstage. So we rely so much on the ship and the crew. And that's one of the best experiences. Not only are you having a great education at sea, but you're on an amazing cruise ship. So breaks are sitting out at a pool or on a private island. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes you guys almost have to play leapfrog, right? I mean, before we even do, say, conference A of whatever year it is, you're already in the pre-planning stage of the following year. We haven't even had the previous year yet, right?
Very true. So we're often in the works on 8 or 9 event contracts, making sure that there's things happening throughout this year, next year, and even looking as far as 2023 to make sure that we have all our ducks in the row. And then from there, it's like you said, I'm either planning an agenda for the 2022 conference or finalizing updates for our event that's actually happening in 2 weeks.
So let's flip the scenario a little bit and let's talk about some of the ways that you had to pivot and meet the demands, because of COVID-19 and everything going virtual.
Yeah, so as much as we love in-person events, there's nothing that can beat it. We decided quite quickly last year that we needed to keep those networking and those educational events available and make them 100% virtual. It was very important for us to make sure that we still had that education level there. So what we did was went out and tried, I would say 20 different kind of event platforms. We really became tech experts, which surprisingly for events, that's not really what we do. In an in-person event, I have a tech team. So it was really interesting for my team to be able to go out and learn a little bit about platforms. And what we did quite quickly I will say is we moved an in-person on-cruise conference in about 1 month to a completely virtual platform that we were able to get in front of the independent agencies. So it was almost the same week that the in-person conference should be, but we were able to just completely pivot that event to be online. We worked with suppliers in a whole new way. As you can imagine, the suppliers are often working on numerous kinds of platforms, so we had to educate them on ours. But it was definitely something we knew was important. It is important to make sure that we're still networking and we're still having those educational opportunities, whether I'm behind a screen like this or running around on a cruise ship.
And that leads me perfectly, Ashley, into my next question, which is to talk a little bit about the benefits that a member in the Avoya Travel Network receives by participating in some of these events. From your standpoint, with your role and your participation, what do you see as some of the prime benefits for somebody who's selling travel and participating in these kind of events that Avoya puts on?
I just think they are so beneficial. One of the great things about Avoya is our relationship with supplier partners in the travel industry. Our family name goes so far back with those Andersons that we're extremely well known. So when Avoya puts on an event, you're not getting, a rep level attendee. You're getting the top of the top. We're getting those Vicky Freeds with Royal Caribbean, the Dondras with Celebrity Cruises, and we're not just getting them for main stage time. They're joining us for cocktails. They're hanging out at the coffee shop wanting to meet you. So not only are you getting this on-stage great education that's just honed in on Avoya Travel, they know so much about us that it's not just their weekly webinar they do. It's very Avoya-centric. But on top of that, between your breaks and your opportunities to network, you can sit down with industry leaders and really form those relationships that, later on, you never know when you might need a little bit of help or a little bit of support with a client issue or booking issue. And we form those. Those relationships are formed at our events. You can become an expert just by attending our events, learning, and then using your time to network. And I just think that's so valuable because there's so many large trade shows, there's so many large events out there in our industry. But when you're at an Avoya event, we are a family. You're involved. There's no sitting on the outside. We're going to invite you in. You might be doing karaoke on Navigator of the Seas one night without even thinking that was something you wanted to do. But that's just who we are.
And I mean, the proof is in the pudding too. And we've talked to Tammy Ritchie. We've talked to other members of the mastermind program for Avoya Travel, and we know that agents that actively participate in national conference, participate in the land forums, the events, they sell at a higher level. So why wouldn't you, when there's this event that you can participate in, why would you not make that investment in yourself so that you can see those kind of returns? Wouldn't you agree?
And that's so true. Our mastermind program is incredible. If you can pair your life to attend a mastermind academy, get all that deep education from Tammy's amazing team, and then come see us at conference, I can't even imagine how amazing your sales are going to be after that.
Ashley, one last question before we switch topics and talk about some fun stuff about you, Ashley Lewis. What do you think the future, after we come out of this COVID-19 crisis and whatever, I hate the word, but whatever the new normal is that we're returning to, what do you think the future of events looks like?
It's a great question, and one events executives and I have been having a lot of conversations in and out of even the travel industry, because you know what? COVID changed everything. It didn't just change our industry, it touched so many other ones. And what we feel strongly is this virtual aspect, it does work. And one of the best things is I don't have to take you away from your home and your family and what you're doing to have you attend a virtual conference with me. You can do it from your house. It's recorded. There's opportunities there, but nothing beats face to face. So we've been having a lot of internal conversations on how can we make both happen? Is there an opportunity for us to do smaller networking events throughout the year and then have this big virtual conference so that once again, it's not a big ticket price for you as an independent agency, but also you can get all that education from your home, from whatever's really happening in your personal life. And then you just sprinkle in those lovely networking events where it is all about your relationships and maybe a few cocktails in there.
That sounds like hybrid, right? That's the big buzzword.
That's the new event word, hybrid events.
Absolutely. I think it makes a lot of sense if you think about it. Ashley, let's switch topics and talk about you, Ashley, the person. And now we can circle back to the whole way you got started in the travel business, because this is such a fun story.
Yes. So although I was, traveling and timeshare girl, there's just something special about Disney. And when I went off to college in Orange County, I auditioned to be a princess, and I actually spent 4 years. They like us to say friends with the princess, but I did spend 4 years at the California Disneyland, being a couple of our favorite childhood princesses.
Are you allowed to tell us which ones you played over the course of time, or is that a big Disney secret?
It's not a secret anymore. Unfortunately, I'm many years past that now, but I was Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty. I was the Flying Tinkerbell, and I moonlighted as the singing Ariel as well.
I mean, it must be really cool to think that you played like a starring role in some really, I don't know, those like early childhood, super important moments. I mean, I remember my first visit to the park and getting my picture taken with Mickey and Minnie and all of the cast of characters. And just like, it was such an amazing moment that I really lived off of that for the longest of time. That must be really cool to think that you've been a part of so many of those.
It is very awesome to just think at how many little kids and even adults. I mean, I met so many adults who were just thrilled to meet Cinderella, and they knew who, I'm a person, of course, but there's something about bringing magic, whether it's Disney magic or whether you're an independent agency in Avoya Travel, bringing magic to someone who's going on a family vacation. No Disney, just that experience. And for me, I got to do that every day. I mean, there was a time where I went and babysat at a house and they had a picture up with Ariel, and I didn't want to say anything, but I said, "That's me. I don't think your kids are going to recognize me because I have a wig on, but the photo up in your house with your children is me." So
wow.
It was just such a weird experience. But, for other people, I was the character. I was the magic, and it was an amazing experience to go make magic every day.
Yeah, we really work in an industry that's just filled with magic. You know what I mean? And it really is. I feel really lucky just to be part of it. We had Skip Fortier, Vice President of Network Expansion, as a guest a few weeks ago. And I'm sure, as you know, Skip's a former Disney cast member himself. Do you and Skip have like secret Disney chats and compare notes of what it was like to work in the park?
We definitely have our Disney secrets, but we're not allowed to share those.
Okay, can't blame a guy for asking. But we did actually make Skip do the goofy laugh when he was on board. So I have to ask the same kind of level of question. Do you still have any of the tiaras that you had to wear when you were at Disney?
Oh, this old thing?
Yay! That's awesome.
We must, of course, I was going to say, we got to keep these little memories alive,
Absolutely. All right, keep it on. One last question before we go. What future trips just can't you wait to take? I mean, what kind of bucket list experiences and amazing places around the world are you looking forward to seeing?
My husband and I were so fortunate. We got married in 2019, the end of the year, right before the shutdown, and we took a celebrity cruise through the Mediterranean, and I fell in love with Greece. But one thing that trip missed was London. I am all into the royals, obviously, and I would just love my next trip with my husband, or even my mom, who's actually into the royals as well, to go really do a historical trip. Nothing like seeing the Tower of London and really being able to like touch and see all those things with such a deep history that I just don't feel like we can really find here. So that's on our bucket list. We're going to squeeze in a Hawaii trip too, just to get out of the house.
I don't blame you. I'm so ready for my next adventure, and my vacation is starting tomorrow when I'm off work. So I understand. Let's go someplace cool around the world, because it's an amazing world we live in. Ashley Lewis, everyone, Senior Strategic Partners and Events Manager for Avoya Travel. Ashley, thanks so much for your time and for being our special guest on Deck with Avoya.
Thank you guys so much. This was a blast. I will talk to you later.
Thank you, Ashley. Next week on Deck with Avoya, our special Meet the Team guest will be Nidhi Yadev, our Assistant Controller at Avoya Travel. And as I said, I'm going to be on vacation. Skip Fortier is going to be anchoring our broadcast next week. And I really look forward for my opportunity to tune in and listen to the conversation between Skip and Nidhi next week on Deck with Avoya. So we talked earlier in the program about some special promotions. And again, we just want to reiterate that our promotions are still active for a high-end travel professional, someone that would have done in the excess of $500,000 in gross sales in 2019. When the shutdown happened, probably had future cruise, future travel credits. You're starting to see the phone ring, clients are reaching out, they're starting to get excited about vacations, and you're thinking that maybe coming out of this pandemic, you need just a more secure home. You want to beef up the level of your resources, the quality of your offering to your clients. You like the idea of maybe being able to have the benefits from American Express Travel, because again, Avoya Travel has been part of the American Express Travel Network for over 30 years, and you as an affiliate have that trickle-down relationship. If that's the case, we can waive that initial affiliation fee, and my team would just love to have that conversation with you. And as I say every week, if you're still trying to get to that level, that's okay. That's what the resources do. The sales coaching and the Marketing Resource Center and all of those things can help you get to that next level. And we have a promotion for you as well. And we're waiving that first renewal fee. So either get the initial affiliation or your first renewal fee waived. My team can go over all the details, get you qualified. They're doing that every single day. And of course, you can explore with complete flexibility with no long-term contract or exclusive agreement, and contact us for eligibility and offer details. Don't delay your success. Reach out to Avoya Travel today. And how do you reach out? Well, you can either leave us a message right here on Facebook, or you can go on our website, avoyanetwork.com, and fill out an information form there. If you happen to be watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, leave us a message. We'll certainly follow up that way. You can give me a phone call. There's my telephone number. And of course, my email is chris.green@avoyatravel.com. Thank you so much for your time today. I hope you have a wonderful week. Skip, thank you in advance for hosting next week. Marissa Smith, thank you again for a wonderful job in producing today's segment. Ashley Lewis, just a fantastic conversation. I really enjoyed that. And again, thank you, everyone. Have a fantastic week.